I thought it'd be kind of nice to put together a little Monday morning, start of your week flow. We'll work a little bit on stability in our core and in our back, and we'll do a little bit on our arms too. So hopefully you'll work up a little bit of a sweat, but then also start to feel nice and long and aligned for your week. So we'll go ahead and get started in Supta Baddha Konasana. So kind of recline down to your back. Bring the soles of your feet to touch and open your knees wide to the side. If right away you notice that this isn't feeling good, you have the option to place pillows or books or blocks underneath your knees. And you also have the option to move your feet closer or farther away from your pelvis. And as you kind of come to settle into whatever position feels good to you to start, just close your eyes if it feels comfortable and start to ground down. Intentionally place your hands somewhere on your body. Maybe it's your inner thighs, maybe you have one on your belly and one on your heart. And then start to breathe into those places. Feeling your belly rise and fall as you breathe. Maybe noticing the pace of your heart underneath one palm. And as you take inventory of your body today, what feels good, what feels tight, just notice your breath and send your exhales to those places of comfort or discomfort. Start to seal your lips, breathe in through your nose, and feel your belly fill up your chest and your collarbones. And then exhale, feel your collarbones, your chest, and your belly. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, belly. Big inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Pause at the top. Exhale, ribs, belly. And then start to kind of constrict through the back of your throat. So maybe there's a little bit of pressure or some texture to your breath. And maybe as you breathe in and out of your nose, you start to make more sound, some audible noise with your breath. One more like that. Inhale, fill all the way up. Exhale, find that texture, your Ujjayi Pranayama. And on your next inhale, close your legs together. You can use your hands to help support you. And bring the soles of your feet down to the mat. Have your knees pointing straight up to the ceiling. And just start to notice your spine here. For these next couple of exercises, we want to keep our natural curve in our lower spine. So feel your pelvis, feel your tailbone, kind of the back of your hips down on the mat. And then feel your rib cage down on the mat. But notice that natural curve in your spine that maybe you don't feel grounded in that lower spine, or you don't feel that contact with the mat. And from there, inhale, press down into your lower back, imprint your spine. Maybe your tailbone starts to curve off of the mat a little bit, and maybe you feel your belly start to engage. Inhale here, exhale, release. Return to that natural curve of your spine. We call this neutral spine. Inhale, imprint, press your lower back down onto the ground. Exhale, hold onto your belly, return to neutral spine. One more like that. Inhale, imprint your lower back down onto the ground. Exhale, neutral spine. Allow that curve to happen naturally. Don't force anything. And then maybe you take your fingers and you start to feel your lower ribs, your floating ribs here, closing in. So while we hold our lower belly up and in with our natural curve, we're simultaneously closing through the tops of our ribs so that our belly is nice and tight and is nice and supported. And from here, take your arms back down by your sides. Maybe you bring the knife edge of your hands to the mat. Inhale, lift your arms all the way up and overhead. If it feels good in your shoulders, tap your arms down by your ears, and then notice if your ribcage has started to flare open. And return to that sensation in your belly and just close down through the front of your center. Inhale here. Exhale, mindfully move your arms back down by your sides. A couple more like that. Inhale, lift your arms all the way up and overhead, tap them down beside your ears. And exhale, reverse that action, bring your arms up and overhead. One more like that. Inhale, lift your arms all the way up and overhead, mindful of our centers. Don't let the weight of your arms allow your stomach to adjust. And then exhale, float your arms back down by your sides. Inhale, bring your legs up to a tabletop position. You can flex or point through your toes, but just work to stack your knees directly over your hip bones. And then take your palms, press them into your thighs. Return to that neutral spine. So make sure that your lower ribs are still making contact with the earth, as well as your tailbone. And then as you press your palms into your thighs, start to press your thighs back into your palms. And notice if your lower belly starts to engage. Just breathe into your center. And then squeeze your inner thighs towards one another. This will start to activate your pelvic floor. Inhale to stay. Exhale, release down. Maybe you windshield wiper your legs from side to side. Start to warm up through your hips a little bit. And then inhale, return back to that tabletop position. We'll take little taps down onto the ground. So you can leave your palms at your thighs, or you can drop them down to your side, whatever feels more supported to you. Inhale, tap your right heel out and down away from you. Exhale, lift it back up. Inhale, tap your left heel down and away from you. Exhale, return to center. Keep going like that. Inhale to tap. Exhale to center yourself. And then notice that lower back curve up and off the mat. While you're supporting this movement through the front of your belly, your lower ribs are actively knitting towards one another. And we'll take a couple more to each side. Even yourself out. And as you return back to center, lift your arms up and overhead so they're pointing straight up to the ceiling. Keep your lower belly lifting up and in. Think of your belly button kind of driving towards your spine. And then as you tap your right heel down this time, lower your left arm by your ear. Exhale to return center. Inhale to tap. Exhale, return center. Inhale, tap. Exhale, return center. Inhale, open up. So there's a lot of work happening in your core here to try and keep your body centered and perfectly aligned while you have opposite limbs moving away from your core. This is working your transverse abs. Those are the abs that wrap all the way around from your back, through the center and through the front of your core. So I like to imagine my transverse abs are kind of giving my organs a little bit of a hug. Even yourself out, and then hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little bit of rock from side to side. Maybe you circle your knees kind of out and open. Start to allow your femur to massage into your hip socket. And then when this feels good in your hips, send your legs long in front of you. And for today, we'll squeeze our legs together. So we're continuing to activate our inner thighs here. And then send your arms long overhead. We'll take just a couple roll-ups, start to kind of work through our spine here. So you're gonna lift your arms off the mat, then your head, shoulders, upper back, mid back, lower back. And as you arrive up to a seat, start to round your back forward. So maybe this isn't a full forward fold quite yet, but you're creating a nice curve in your spine and then starting to open up through the backs of your legs. Inhale, you'll rise all the way up to a nice long spine, sitting nice and tall right on top of your sits bones. And then exhale, you curve through your lower back, your middle back, upper back, shoulders, head. Fingers are the last thing to arrive. And then right away, inhale, lifting up, arms, head, upper, middle, lower back, curving over, continuing to pull your belly button back and into your spine. And then as you rise up to a flat back, inhale here, exhale, undulate your spine. Try and see if you can feel one vertebrae hitting the mat at a time. So you're really using your core to control this movement. You're not allowing your legs to counterbalance. This is all in your core. One more like that. Inhale, rising up. Arms, neck, upper, middle, lower, curving over. And then as you come up this time, we'll take a boat pose. So bend through your knees. And for today, just to stay grounded down, it's just a Monday, we'll keep our heels down on the mat today. Flex up through your toes. Pretend like you're squeezing something between your knees. Visualize like a block or maybe a pillow. So we start to warm up through our inner thighs, which simultaneously works our pelvic floor. And as we take our boat pose, our Navasana pose, start to pitch your body backwards to that point where we feel those transverse abs start to hug in. If this feels good to you, maybe you hover your hands forward, palms facing up. Maybe you receive some light or some nice breath along the fronts of your arms. And if this starts to kind of activate through your hip flexors, that crease in your hips, focus your energy more on your lower core. See if you can lift up through your pelvic floor, through your abdominal muscles, and do the work there instead. One more big breath in. Exhale, if you'd like a little bit more of a challenge, maybe you bring your arms up to hover by your ears. So now you're working a little bit more against gravity. One more inhale. Exhale, roll all the way down. Return back to your spine. We'll take one little bridge pose. So bring your feet all the way into your hips, almost to the point where your fingertips could maybe touch. And then go ahead and press down into your heels. Feel that imprint that we felt at the beginning of class. So press your lower back down into the ground. Lift your tailbone slightly off. And then as you press down into your heels more, you'll start to activate through the backs of your legs, your hamstrings. And then slowly roll your way up, bridge pose.
This is our first kind of spine extension of class, so maybe you aren't reaching your full range of motion quite yet. What's important is that you stay active through your hamstrings. So I like to think of pressing down through my heel, and then almost as though I was going to bunch the mat up underneath me, I like traction my heels back towards my chest. I keep my tailbone nice and tucked, and my core is really active here. Inhale to stay. Exhale, lower yourself down to the mat, one vertebrae at a time. And then we'll take another Supta Baddha Konasana. Just open your knees wide. Kind of release through your lower back. Maybe you close your eyes. Just settle in for a moment. Maybe you already notice a difference between this reclined bound angle pose and the first one we did when we started today. Inhale, close your legs together. Hug your knees into your chest. We'll just take a rock and roll. Maybe you get a few cracks out of your spine. If this doesn't feel good, you can just skip it. And then plant your hands down onto the mat. We'll come to a tabletop position. Go ahead and take your knees wide to the long edges of your mat. And then start to take these hip circles. Feeling your lower abs activating and just kind of working into your hip socket, just starting to open up. Sometimes when we're sitting at desks all day and we're kind of stuck in this 90-degree position where our hips meet our back, our hips tend to get super tight, and so sometimes it's nice to kind of find those extra movements, those wiggles from side to side, and kind of see where our hip sockets are at. So go ahead, plant your knees back under your hips, your hands right underneath your shoulders, and then take a micro bend through your elbows here. So your arm muscles will start to turn on. And then lift up through your belly button here and close down through your ribs. So we're finding that same stable core. Inhale, tuck your toes underneath. We'll take cow pose with tucked toes. So start to drop your belly towards the mat, shine your chest forward. Maybe you gaze out and up. And then exhale, cat pose. This time we'll hover our knees slightly off the mat. So just 1 inch, and then you'll round up through your spine. Maybe you gaze at your belly or back at your quads. And then inhale, cow pose. Return your knees to the mat. Start to arch your spine. Careful you're not dumping into your lower back. Exhale, cat pose rather. Puff up your spine towards the sky, gaze down and under. Couple more like that. Just kind of flow at your own pace. And be mindful that your elbows aren't locking. So your arms are almost in a generous bend at times, so that your arms start to turn on, but also to protect your elbow joints from locking. One more cat pose. Exhale, lift your belly button up and in, hover your knees. And then as you return your knees to the mat, untuck your toes. And we'll just take some shoulder taps here. So hold your belly button up and in, hug through your transverse abs. And from here, you'll just take one arm. Without moving any part of your torso, you'll tap opposite shoulder and return. Then switch sides, tap opposite shoulder, return. So this exercise seems fairly simple, but it takes quite a bit of mindful concentration to keep your torso exactly where it is. So we're not shifting our weight from side to side, but we're keeping ourselves center as we remove one corner of our support system here. Just even yourself out like this. And then we'll take a little flow pattern, kind of utilizing our hovering cat-cow here. So tuck your toes under again. You'll start with cow pose. So to arch your back. And then you'll go to your hovering cat. Just hover your knees 1 inch off of the mat. From here, you'll take your right knee and you'll hug it into your chest. So activating 3 corners of our system, our support system, and then our knee is hugging into our forehead almost. From here, shoot your right leg up and back, 3-legged dog, and then exhale, return down to your cow pose. So inhale, cow pose. Exhale, hovering cat. Inhale, hovering cat with knee to forehead. Breathe here for a second. And then as you exhale, 3-legged dog, send your heel up and backwards. And then return back down to your cow pose. So we'll just flow this a couple times. Start to work through our core, and then we'll start to lengthen through the backs of our legs as well. Inhale, 3-legged dog. Exhale, return down to the mat. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, hovering cat. Inhale, knee to forehead. Exhale, 3-legged dog. And then just come to your downward dog, your Ardha Mukha Svanasana, and just kind of settle in. This is our first big hamstring opener of class. So take any wiggles you need. Micro bend through your knees, micro bend through your elbows. And as you settle in, just gaze back at your shins. So we've worked through our core quite a bit already today, so you should start to feel that hugging sensation in your abs, and that closing through the fronts of your ribs should be kind of a recognizable sensation. So return to that feeling. Inhale, lift all the way up on your toes, and then exhale, lower your heels down towards the mat. One more like that. Inhale, rise all the way up onto your toes. Exhale, lower your heels down towards the mat. We'll start to work into our shoulders a little bit. Inhale, gaze forward. Maybe you step your fingers a little bit farther in front of you. And then exhale, undulate your spine, shift forward into a high plank, and see if you can arrive 1 vertebrae at a time. So kind of like we did in our roll-ups, but now we're upside down. So we're sort of reversed. As you come to your high plank, just breathe for a second. Return to that micro bend in your elbows. Press down through your palms. Inhale to stay. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bend your knees. Send your hips up and back. And then see if you can arrive 1 vertebrae at a time, reversing that action. So we're creating waves through our spine. Inhale, shift forward, high plank. Undulate your spine. Your head is the last thing to arrive. And then exhale, bend your knees, send your tailbone up and back. Undulate your spine back the other way. Inhale, high plank pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. This time, inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, tiny little steps up to the top of your mat. Ragdoll, Uttanasana. Just let your body hang heavy. Bend through your knees. Shift your weight all the way forward into your toes. And then you can have your heels hips width distance, or maybe you can walk your feet a little bit wider. Whatever your hamstrings need on this Monday morning. And then option to interlace your fingers behind your head. Just let your spine feel heavy. Start to decompress through your lower back. And then inhale, return your hands to the mat. Toe heel your feet to touch underneath you. And exhale, forward fold. Just bend a little bit deeper. Inhale, halfway lift. Press your palms into your shins. Send the crown of your head forward. Create 1 long line in your spine. zip up through your belly. And then exhale, send your arms long and forward. So your arms are hovering by your ears. Maybe you start to feel the backs of your legs working to support the shape. Keep your belly button lifting up and in. And then in one smooth action, keeping our back nice and long and flat, you'll rise up to mountain pose, Tadasana. Once you arrive, bring your hands to heart center, Samastitihi, and then maybe you close your eyes or soften your gaze. And just feel your energy rooting down through your feet. Feel your heels and then 2 points of contact on the balls of your feet, rooting down through the mat. Inhale, return mountain pose, rise all the way up. Spiral your pinky fingers in, and then drop your shoulders down away from your ears. Inhale to stay. Exhale, open twist to the right. Drop your right arm down and back. Maybe your left rib cage starts to spiral forward and around towards the right side of your room. And then keep your right hip kind of countering that action by bringing it forward towards the front of your space. Inhale, mountain pose, rise all the way up in center. Exhale, open twist to the left, drop your left fingertips down and back. Again, checking in with your right rib cage this time. And then countering that action by bringing your left hip bone forward. Inhale, rise up to center. Exhale, forward fold, descend down mindfully and gracefully. Inhale, crouch and curl. Rise all the way up into the balls of your feet. You can use your fingers to support you here, or if you already feel pretty balanced, maybe you start to hover your hands off. Maybe you wrap your hands around your legs. Gaze either down at the mat or back at where your belly button might be. And just feel your spine curving. Maybe you open up through your mid-back. Inhale, high plank pose. Step your legs back. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana, your variation. Shift forward into your fingers. Lower down halfway. Keep your elbows hugged into your ribcage. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Use your belly to arrive back at this familiar pose. Already start to notice what feels different. Maybe things feel worse, maybe things feel better. And then choose one thing in your body to find ease in. So maybe that's just your face. Maybe you find a little bit of ease in that space between your eyebrows. Or maybe you unclench your jaw. Maybe you just return to your Ujjayi breath. Whatever that is, stay with it as we flow through our Sun A just a couple more times. So inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, step forward to the top of your space. Already bring your big toes to touch. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, send your arms long and forward. Bring your biceps by your ears. Inhale, rise up to Tadasana, mountain pose. Exhale, open twist to the right. Inhale, rise up, mountain pose. Exhale, open twist to the left. Inhale, rise up, mountain pose. Exhale, forward fold, descend down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, crouch and curl, come all the way up onto your toes, bend through your spine. Inhale, high plank pose. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana, option to drop down to your knees or just skip it. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. One more like that. Inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, step, hop, or float to the top of your space. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, send your arms long and forward.
Inhale, rise up, mountain pose. Exhale, open twist to the right. Maybe you feel even longer through your arms this time. Inhale, center Tadasana. Exhale, open twist to the left. Inhale, mountain pose. Exhale, dive forward. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen through your spine. Exhale, crouch and curl. Form the smallest ball yet. Inhale, high plank pose. Exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana, your variation. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, step, hopper, float to the top of your space. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Lift up through your belly button. And aim to have your torso long. And the goal would be to have your shoulders stacked over your hips. But very rarely is a human actually able to achieve that shape. So focus rather on sending your tailbone long and back. And then just engaging through your upper back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together while simultaneously wrapping your rib cage down and in. Inhale to stay, sink deeper. Exhale, open twist to the right. We've been here before. And then inhale, one-legged mountain pose. Lift your right leg up, press down through your left leg. We'll just start to find a little bit of balance here. I like to think of my right abs lifting up and in order to bring my knee higher up. You can create a 90-degree angle in your leg, or if that doesn't feel good, you can just keep your toes lightly touching down on the mat. And as we settle into this little balancing posture, see if you can feel your left glute spiraling down and under to support this. Inhale to stay. Exhale, crescent lunge with airplane arms. You're going to step your right leg back behind you, and then you are going to create one long line from your heel to your head and have your palms facing down, but then working towards the ceiling to kind of turn on your triceps here as well as your upper back. Keep your belly button pulling up and in, away from your leg. Start to drive down through that front heel. Inhale. Exhale, crescent lunge. Stack your shoulders straight over your hips. And then start to pull your belly button up and in so that you create length on the fronts of your hips. This is a big posture. It creates a lot of sensations both in the legs, but then also kind of a stretching sensation through your right hip flexor. So just breathe. Whatever is kind of coming up for you in this shape, just breathe through it. Acknowledge it, but know that it's temporary. Inhale. Exhale, open twist to the left. So keep the shape in your legs, and then drop your left fingers down and back. And start to just squeeze through your inner thighs. Kind of create a counter strength to your twist. It's almost as though you're squeezing a block between your legs here. Inhale, center. Exhale, low lunge. Plant your hands down on either side of your front leg. And then, we'll walk our fingertips towards the right side of our mat. And then we'll take a wide-legged forward fold. Just kind of parallel your feet to the short edges of your mat.
And then this stretch can be a couple of variations. So you can walk your feet closer together for more hamstring, or you can walk them farther apart and focus more on your lower back. Wherever that is, bring your fingertips so that they're slightly forward of your shoulders. Shift your weight forward into your toes. Inhale, create a flat back here. Maybe you spider tip up through your fingers, or maybe you have your palms planted down. On your next inhale, come all the way up onto your toes and see if you can start to activate through your inner thighs. Exhale, drop your toes back down. Inhale, lift all the way up. Exhale, drop your heels down towards the mat. Last time, inhale, lift all the way up onto your toes. Feel your inner thighs tractioning towards one another. Maybe you start to feel some sensation in your outer hips. And then exhale, lower your heels back down. Walk your arms back to surround your front foot. And then inhale, open twist to the left. Lift your fingertips all the way up towards the ceiling. Inhale to stay. Exhale, step back. Chaturanga Dandasana. Bring your front foot to meet your back foot. And then flow through whatever variation feels good to you right now. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. We'll flow through all of that to the other side. Inhale, gaze forward. Exhale, step, hop, or float to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Press your palms into your shins. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose. Sink deep. Squeeze your legs together here. Pull your belly button up and in. And then right away, exhale, open twist to the left. Maybe you gaze back at your palm. Check to see that your knees are nice and square, so one knee isn't shifting more forward than the other here. And then inhale, one-legged Tadasana. Your left leg is gonna lift off the mat this time. And then you're gonna feel your lower belly doing the work to lift your knee higher up. Again, option to keep your toe lightly touching the mat, focusing more on your standing leg. Take a micro bend through your right knee. Use your glute to support this balance. And just know if you're not feeling quite grounded or stable yet, that it's okay. Just fall out of it, allow yourself to recenter, and then just find the shape again. Inhale to stay. Exhale, crescent lunge with airplane arms. Step your leg back and down. Press down through your front heel and create that long line between the crown of your head and your back heel. Again, bring the backs of your hands up towards the ceiling. Squeeze through your upper back. Start to turn on your triceps here. And then inhale, crescent lunge. Sink deep. And then you can take a micro bend through your back knee to help kind of align your shoulders up and over your hips. Option to take this stance longer or shorter. And then just be mindful that your front knee isn't pushing too far forward, that it's stacked directly over your front heel. Inhale to stay. Exhale, open twist to the right. Drop your right fingers down and back. And then returning to that inner thigh, squeezing sensation here to help counter through this twist. Inhale, rise up to center. Exhale, frame your front foot with your fingers. We'll take one more wide-legged forward fold. So walk your fingers all the way around to the long edge of your mat. And then parallel your feet with the short sides of your mat. And just hang heavy here. If you feel stable in this position, you can take a micro bend through your knees, and then maybe you grab for opposite elbow behind your back. If this feels good, you can interlace your fingers together and start to elongate through your elbows for a little bit more of a chest expansion. You can shake your head no, nod your head yes. And again, choose one thing to find ease in this posture. Always an option to just find ease in your face. Inhale, return your fingers down underneath your shoulders. And then exhale, open your toes out to the side, bring your heels in, rise all the way up, star pose. So this is a nice expansive position, a nice wide stance in our legs. Push down through your heels. Feel your inner thighs magnetizing towards one another. Expand really big. Exhale, horse pose. Drop down. Bring your hands to heart center. And maybe you shift side to side. Aim to have your knees stacked right over your heels. And then again, rooting down through our heels and opening our knees back towards the knife edge of our foot. So we start to turn on our outer glutes here while we simultaneously open up through our inner thighs. Check in with your belly, close down through your front ribs. Inhale, goddess pose. Keep your legs where they are. Just open your arms up and open. And then exhale, bring your hands back down to heart center. One more like that. Inhale, goddess pose. Lift your arms up and open. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, star pose. Reach all the way up. Exhale, big transition. Turn your toes back towards the top of your mat. Plant your hands down. Find that low lunge. Inhale, open twist to the right this time. Send your right fingers high towards the sky. And then exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana, step back. High plank to low plank. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, shift forward to high plank. Exhale, forearm plank. Lower down onto your forearms. I like to keep my forearms parallel to one another. I think that it helps find more sensation in our shoulders. But if this really doesn't feel good to you, option to just interlace your fingers together. Create more of a triangular base there. And then inhale, tap your right knee down. Exhale, return. Inhale, left knee down. Exhale, return. Smooth, consistent breaths here. Return to that Ujjayi Pranayama. So find that constriction in the back of your throat. It really helps you create some heat here. Let's aim to do one more to each side. Inhale, tap your right. Exhale, plank. Inhale, left. Exhale, plank. And then flip to the top edges of your toes. Sphinx pose. Drop your belly down. Shine your heart forward. Maybe you gaze from side to side. Just kind of opening up through your chest here in a supported shape. And then exhale. Bring your left cheek down to the mat. And then just bring your arms down by your side. Windshield wiper your legs back and forth. We'll take Cobra pose with spider finger variation. So have your fingers down to either side of you. Almost have your arms in like a goalpost shape. Inhale, Cobra pose. Send your nose long and forward. Lift your chest and your shoulders up and off the mat. Squeeze your shoulder blades together behind you while you simultaneously drive your pubic bone down into the mat, lifting up through your core.
Inhale to stay. Exhale, lower your right shoulder and your right cheek down towards the mat. So kind of opening up through the front of our right chest. Inhale, rise up, cobra pose, center. Exhale, drop your left shoulder down, left ear to your mat. Inhale, center. Exhale, right shoulder, right ear. Inhale, center. Your belly button is still lifting up and away from the mat. Exhale, opposite side. Inhale, bring your hands back underneath your shoulders. And then exhale, push back, child's pose. Reverse that action in your spine. Start to feel your lower back, creating more space. Maybe your hip flexors need this little bit of pressure to help kind of create more space through that crease in the front of our hips. And then when you feel satisfied with this counter pose, inhale. We'll come up to center. We'll do one little inversion. We'll take dolphin pose. So you're gonna find kind of that forearm plank that we did with creating that 11. You have the option to place a book or a block in between your thumbs to kind of help support you. But as you find that forearm plank, this time you're gonna start to walk your feet up and towards your elbows. So your tailbone is lifting up towards the sky, and you're using your shoulders to kind of push down and out of the ground. So my head is hovering a good amount off of the mat. And I'm really just feeling blood flowing from my pelvis down into my heart, and then also simultaneously down into my feet. And then just breathe here. And then when you're ready, we'll take puppy pose. So drop your knees down towards the mat, untuck your toes, and then keep your butt in the air and just walk your arms forward. Press your forehead down. If your spine feels good here, option to gaze forward, maybe bring your chin down to the mat. If it doesn't feel good, forehead to mat is perfectly okay. And then in this position, I kind of like to wag my tail, going along with the theme of puppy pose. And then exhale, walk your hands back into your center. We'll take one set of camel. Bring your knees, hips width distance apart. Come up to standing on your knees. Already kind of feeling my inner thighs magnetizing towards one another, squeezing through my glutes. Bring your fingertips to your lower back so that they're pointing down towards the ground. Squeeze your elbows behind you. Inhale, camel pose. Start to gaze up and back so far that your heart starts to open up. This can feel good with your hands right here. Or if you want a little bit more, you can aim to grab onto your heels. Just opening up through your chest. Maybe you let your gaze go slightly behind you. Be mindful that you're not overextending through your neck. Keep that connection with your inner thighs and your glutes. Support your lower body here. And then start to slowly walk your way back up. Sit your bum back down onto your heels. Place your palms onto your thighs. Maybe you gaze down or close your eyes and just kind of let that swirling sensation in your heart subside. Camel pose brings up quite a bit of adrenaline. And so it's important that we acknowledge that and
sit with it for a second, and then exhale to let it go. Shift your booty over to one side. Bring your legs out in front of you, and then lower yourself all the way down to your back. We'll take a figure four stretch here. So cross your right ankle over your right knee. And then hug your left knee into your chest. Start to feel an opening sensation through your right glute. Flex generously through your right toes to protect your knee. And then yogi's choice here, you can kind of start to make circles with your left knee and find exactly what spot or what alignment in this position creates the most sensation. One more big breath in. Exhale, release your hands, keep your legs where they are, and then just start to drop your knees down towards the left side of your mat. We'll take supine twist with a crossed variation today. Tee out or goalpost your arms to the side, and then just gaze over towards your right fingers. Let your belly completely relax here and just allow each part of your spine to lengthen into this twist. Maybe you start to let go of your Ujjayi breath. Breathe a little bit easier. Inhale, return to center. Exhale, switch out your figure four. And this time your left ankle will cross over your right knee and hug your right knee into your chest. Flex generously through your right feet. And then have your tailbone fall heavy towards the mat. Create little circles with your knee. Find that place that feels the most sensation. Our hips tend to hold a lot of our stress, especially if we're working at a desk all day, or if we spend a lot of our time in a sitting upright position. Our hips tend to take a lot of kind of the tension in that shape. So give yourself a moment to just release it. And then let go of your right leg here and just allow that crossed shape to fall towards the right side of your mat. Tee out your arms, and then if it feels good, gaze over to the left side of your space. Allow both shoulders to be heavy on the mat. Just lengthening into this twist. And then inhale, come back to center. Hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself one more big squeeze here. And then maybe you peel your head and your shoulders up and off. Maybe you furrow your brow. Clench all the muscles in your body. Inhale. One final breath in. Exhale. Shavasana pose, final resting. Send your legs long, allow your toes to fall open. And then again, intentionally place your hands somewhere. I like to have my palms up to kind of receive energy. I also like the way the air feels on the insides of my forearms and my palms. And then if it feels good, you can walk your shoulder blades underneath your chest so that your heart is the highest point of this shape. Close your eyes here, unfurrow your brow. And just find ease. If you feel ready, start to bring awareness back into your body. I like to take inventory one more time. What feels good, what doesn't. What do you notice right away? The changes from now to maybe how you felt at the beginning of this practice. And even if you don't notice any change, or even if you feel worse, just breathe into it and then let it go. Maybe you bring tiny movements into your fingers and into your toes. Maybe you move your face from side to side. And then fall to one side. Your left side for energy, your right side for a little bit more grounding. And then come back up to a seated posture. Again, just let your heart sit higher than your hips and intentionally rest your fingers and your palms somewhere. Keep your eyes closed. Just feel the alignment of your spine stacked directly over your sits bones. Option to place one hand on your heart and the other hand on top of it. I encourage you to find moments of ease throughout your day. Just choose one thing to feel a little bit less pressure, less tension. And then notice that once you choose that one thing, if other things start to kind of fall in line as well. Bring your hands to heart center. We'll seal our practice with Namaste.